How dare you show your face here? Victoria Langford's voice cut through the low hum of the gala like a blade. She had him cornered in the shadowed corridor just off the main ballroom, far enough from the chandeliers and champagne flutes that no one would overhear, close enough that her security could reach them in 3 strides if needed. The man turned slowly. No panic in his eyes. Just calm confusion. "Excuse me," he said. "Don't." She stepped closer, heels clicking on marble. Her black gown whispered against the floor. "Don't pretend you don't know who I am. Or what you did." He studied her for a beat, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair neatly combed but not fussy. The resemblance was sickening, same jaw, same height, same timbre that once promised forever and delivered betrayal instead. "I think you've got the wrong person," he replied quietly. "My name is Marcus Hale." She laughed, a short, bitter sound. "New name? That's cute. You always were good at reinventing yourself when it suited you." His brow furrowed. He reached into his jacket pocket slowly, deliberately, giving the security men time to notice, and pulled out a slim wallet. Flipped it open. Held out his driver's license. Marcus Hale. 36, Willow Creek address. No aliases. No record that screamed liar. Victoria stared at the photo. The face was the same. The eyes were not. Damien's had always glinted with private amusement, even when he was lying. These eyes were steady. Warm. Tired around the edges, like someone who carried real weight and didn't complain about it. "I restored the East Wing ceiling here last month," he said. "Pro bono. Your events team hired my company because the 1920s plaster was failing. We matched every molding, stabilized the beams, finished under budget. I only came tonight because the invitation said family-friendly after 6. I brought my daughter." As if on cue, a small girl appeared at the end of the corridor, dark curls, huge hazel eyes, clutching a glass of sparkling water like it was made of crystal. She hesitated, then tugged at Marcus's sleeve. "Daddy, can we see the fountain now? It changes colors." Marcus crouched immediately, voice softening to something tender. "Soon, sophomore. 1 minute, okay. Promise." The girl, Sophie, nodded solemnly, then looked up at Victoria with unguarded curiosity. "Are you the lady who owns all the tall buildings? The ones that touch the clouds?" Victoria felt the question land like a punch she hadn't braced for. For a second the rage stuttered. She forced words past the sudden tightness in her throat. "Something like that." Marcus straightened, one hand resting protectively on his daughter's shoulder. "We'll get out of your way." Victoria didn't move. "You really expect me to believe this is coincidence? That you just happened to walk into my gala wearing that face?" "I expect nothing," he said evenly. "But I'm not who you think I am." Every instinct screamed at her to call security, have them escorted out, reclaim the night. Instead she heard herself speak again, cold, controlled, dangerous. "Tomorrow evening. 8 sharp. Pinnacle Private Dining Room, 42nd floor of Langford headquarters. You'll come. Alone. We'll discuss whether your little renovation company keeps the charity contract you're currently working on, or ever works in this city again." His jaw tightened, just a flicker. "That sounds like a threat." "It's an opportunity," she corrected. "Or the end of one. Your choice." He held her gaze for 3 long seconds. Not anger. Not fear. Just quiet measurement. Then he nodded once. "I'll be there." Sophie looked up again, still holding her glass carefully. "Will there be more fountains?" Victoria felt an unexpected, startled laugh rise in her chest. She swallowed it. "No fountains. Just business." Marcus took his daughter's hand. "Let's go see the one outside, sophomore." He met Victoria's eyes one last time, unreadable, then turned and walked away, Sophie skipping slightly to keep pace. Victoria stood motionless in the corridor until their footsteps faded. Only then did she exhale. She had just invited a ghost to dinner. And she had no idea why. She returned to the ballroom. The gala swirled around her, laughter, clinking glasses, photographers angling for shots. She moved through it like water through glass, flawless smile, perfect handshake, voice steady during her short speech about digital equity and opportunity. No one saw the tremor in her fingers when she lifted her champagne flute afterward. When the last guest left at 1:17 a.m., she took the private elevator to the roof deck alone. The city glittered below, endless, indifferent, hers. She leaned against the railing, wind pulling strands of hair from her updo, and let the night replay. The wallet. The license. The little girl with the sparkling water and the innocent question about tall buildings. Marcus Hale. Not him. But close enough to rip open every scar she had spent a decade cauterizing. She pulled out her phone and texted her executive assistant. Full file on Hale renovations and restorations. Principal, Marcus Hale. Deep background. On my desk by 7 a.m. Then one additional line. Confirmed Tech Lab funding for Willow Creek Elementary is irrevocable. No contingencies. Process the final tranche tomorrow. She wouldn't let her past punish a child. But she also wouldn't let this stranger disappear without understanding exactly what had just walked into her life. She pocketed the phone and stared at the horizon, where the first gray light was beginning to bleed into the black. Tomorrow she would face him again. This time on her territory. This time with questions. And answers she might not want to hear. Earlier that evening, before the confrontation, before the corridor, Victoria Langford had been in complete command. She stood at the edge of the grand ballroom of the historic Meridian Hotel, black silk gown sharp against the glow of crystal chandeliers. At 38 she had built Langford Global from a single garage prototype into a $60 billion empire that married smart luxury with cutting-edge tech security. No co-founders. No inherited money. Just code she wrote at 23, nights on a futon, and 3 near collapses she had survived through sheer refusal to fail. Tonight's gala funded her foundation's mission, tablets and coding labs in places where children still learn from chalkboards. It was her cause. It was also her armor, proof she wasn't the heartless ice queen the tabloids loved to paint. She scanned the room with practiced efficiency. Board members nodded. Rivals smiled without warmth. Photographers hovered. Security flanked her at a discreet distance. She sipped Dom Perignon. Tasted nothing. Then her gaze drifted toward the dessert table. A man stood there, half-turned, speaking to a server. Dark hair. Broad shoulders. Posture too familiar. Her glass trembled. 10 years vanished. She remembered the engagement ring she'd thrown. The leaked photos. The headlines calling her frigid, ambitious, unlovable. The stock dip. The boardroom doubt. The nights she rebuilt alone, colder each time. And now he was here. In her ballroom. Laughing. Rage rose, clean, arctic, perfect. She set the flute down without a sound. Crossed the floor. Heels like gunfire. Heads turned. She didn't care. She reached the corridor first, pulled him aside with a look that promised consequences if he resisted. He followed. And that was when she said it. How dare you show your face here? The rain started just as Marcus stepped into the Pinnacle dining room. It tapped the windows like impatient fingers, blurring the city lights into soft gold smears. The room felt smaller than it should, long table, 2 chairs, low lighting that made everything intimate whether you wanted it or not. Victoria was already seated at the head, charcoal dress sharp as a blade, hands folded on the linen like she was chairing a board meeting instead of facing the man she'd mistaken for her nightmare. Marcus paused in the doorway. Took it all in, the view, the silence, her guarded posture, then walked forward without flourish. Ms. Langford. Mr. Hale. She nodded toward the seat opposite. Sit. He did. No smile, no small talk. Just settled and waited. The waiter came and went, water poured, menus placed, door closed with a soft click. The rain grew louder. Victoria didn't waste time. 10 years ago someone I trusted sold pieces of my life to the highest bidder. Photos. Messages. Everything private turned into public entertainment. The company bled 17% in 2 days. I clawed it back. But I never forgot what that kind of betrayal feels like. Marcus listened. Really listened. No fidgeting, no defensive tilt of the head. You look exactly like him, she said. Enough that I thought my past had walked back in to finish the job. I was wrong. But you're sitting here now, so tell me straight, why should I believe this isn't some kind of setup? He exhaled slowly, the sound almost lost under the rain. Because I don't want anything from you. Not your money, not your connections, not your forgiveness for something I didn't do. I fix houses. I raise my daughter. That's my life. It's small. It's enough. Then why come tonight? His gaze met hers, direct, unflinching. Because the way you said it at the gala, you didn't threaten outright, but the implication was clear. If I didn't show, Sophie's school might lose that tech lab your foundation promised. I won't gamble her future on pride. The words landed heavier than she'd expected. She hadn't spelled out the leverage, but he'd heard it anyway. Heard it and called it what it was. She leaned back just enough to breathe. New arrangement. You consult on redesigning my executive floor at headquarters. 3 weeks. You bill your normal rates, no discounts, no special treatment. In return, the lab funding is locked in. Paperwork's already moving. Irrevocable. He studied her for a long moment, rain streaking the glass behind him. And if I say no? Then you say no. But every time Sophie walks past an empty classroom, you'll wonder. A muscle moved in his jaw, small, controlled. You don't pull punches. I never learned how. He gave a short nod. Send the contract. She slid the folder across. He opened it, read quickly, scope, timeline, payment terms, then signed with the pen from his pocket. Pushed it back. As he stood, she spoke again. One thing. He paused. Don't look at me like I'm the monster, she said quietly. I built these walls for a reason. Marcus looked at her, really looked. I don't see a monster. I see someone who's still carrying a wound that never closed. That's not the same thing. Then he left, footsteps fading down the corridor. Victoria stayed until the rain eased into a steady murmur. She told herself the ache behind her ribs was only anger. It wasn't. Monday morning the executive floor became a construction zone at 7 a.m. Marcus arrived with blueprints under one arm, for crew members behind him, and the kind of calm that made chaos feel orderly. No drama, no show. They measured, marked, murmured about joists and historic trim. Victoria watched from her office through the glass wall. Watched him point out a detail to his lead carpenter, watched the way he listened when someone spoke, watched how he never raised his voice even when a cut went wrong. By Wednesday she found him alone in the conference room, studying a support column with a small level. You're always early, she said from the doorway. Old habit. He glanced up. These columns are over-engineered. We can open this wall 10 feet without touching structural integrity. Saves time. Saves money. She crossed her arms. You're telling me how to spend less. I'm telling you what's possible. You pay for what we do, not for what we don't need to do. She didn't know how to answer that. The days blurred into small moments that slipped past her defenses. Thursday dusk found her on the terrace. Marcus was already there, sleeves rolled, staring at the city coming alive below. Rough day? She asked. He turned. Sophie's science fair tomorrow. She's been practicing her speech all week. Nervous. Victoria pictured the girl, curls, wide eyes, fearless questions. What's she presenting? Solar water purifier. Cardboard prototype, foil reflectors, tiny pump. She says it's for kids who don't have clean water at school. Something twisted under Victoria's ribs. She's 8. She's got a big heart, he said simply. Silence settled between them, comfortable in a way it shouldn't have been. Victoria spoke before she could stop herself. My mother died when I was 9. The house was always full of people, but no one really saw me. I learned early that being useful was better than being seen. Marcus turned fully toward her. I'm sorry. Don't. It made me who I am. Strong, he said. Not happy. The word hung there, simple, devastating. She looked out at the lights. Happiness is temporary. Strength lasts. Is that what you tell yourself at night? She had no answer. Friday morning her assistant slid the background report across her desk. Marcus Hale. Widower. Wife lost to cancer 4 years ago. Sole parent. Modest mortgage. No criminal record. No hidden debts. No link to Damian Reed. Nothing. Victoria stared at the pages until the words blurred. Shame burned hot and quiet. She should have apologized then. Instead she texted him, tomorrow. My penthouse. 10 a.m. walkthrough on the study water damage before demo. His reply came fast, I'll be there. Her penthouse was quiet on Saturday morning, marble floors, black furniture, art that cost more than most people's homes but never made her feel anything. Marcus arrived in jeans and a navy Henley, toolbox in hand. Less formal today. More himself. She led him to the study. Leak behind this panel. Fix it before the crew tears into it next week. He knelt, pried the trim gently, ran a finger along the seam. Not rot. Just bad sealant around the window. 30 minutes. She stayed in the doorway while he worked. Watched the careful way he cleaned the old caulk, the steady pressure as he reapplied. Why do you do it? She asked suddenly. He didn't stop working. Do what? Stay kind. After everything. He set the tool down, sat back on his heels. Because Sophie sees everything. If I let grief turn me bitter, she learns that's how you survive loss. I don't want her to inherit that. I want her to see there's another way. Victoria's throat closed. And if the world takes advantage of that kindness? Then it does. But I won't become someone I don't recognize just to protect myself. She looked away. He finished, stood, wiped his hands. All set. She met his eyes. I know you're not him. A small nod. Took you long enough. Why didn't you push back sooner? Because you needed to see it for yourself. He stepped closer, just enough to make the space feel smaller. And honestly, I didn't hate being around you. Even when you were trying to freeze me out. Her breath caught. He didn't push. Just stood there, waiting. You're not ice, he said quietly. You're someone who's been protecting herself for a long time. I get it. She wanted to step back. She wanted to step forward. She stayed where she was. He gave her a small, almost sad smile and left. That night the dream came again, Damian's face melting into Marcus's, the smirk turning soft, the betrayal turning into something steady and real. She woke with her heart pounding. Monday the crew started demolition. Marcus was there every step, guiding cuts, checking braces, making sure nothing was wasted. By Wednesday the floor had opened up. Light poured in. The space felt alive. Victoria walked it alone after hours. Ran her hand along the new drywall. Hated how right it felt. She found him in the lounge area, testing a chair. It's good, he said. It's better than good. He smiled, just a little. Same thing to you. She sat across from him. I'm sorry. For all of it. Treating you like the enemy. Using leverage I had no right to use. He leaned forward. Apology accepted. But I'm not here for sorry. Then why are you still here? He looked at her the way no one had in years, like he saw past the title, past the walls, straight to the woman underneath. Because every time you let me see a little more of the real you, I want to stay a little longer. Her pulse roared in her ears. She stood. I have to go. Victoria. She paused at the door. When you're tired of running from shadows, he said softly, I'll still be right here. Not because I look like someone else. Because I'm me. She left. But the words followed her all the way home. The atrium of Langford Global Headquarters shimmered under drifting drone lights and cascading digital projections. 2,000 guests moved through the space, investors in sharp suits, journalists trailing recorders, employees in branded polos, and a small family section where Sophie's school choir waited in neat rows. Victoria had just stepped off the stage after her keynote, measured words on ethical AI, clear slides, applause that rolled through the glass like thunder. She was still catching her breath when she saw him. Damian Reed. He stood near the VIP bar in a charcoal suit that screamed calculated expense, laughing with a knot of rival fund managers. The same effortless tilt of the head, the same charm that used to make her feel invincible, until it didn't. 10 years older, silver threading the dark hair, but the face was unchanged. Her stomach twisted. He was here. On her stage. Listed as a panelist for Future of Ethical Disruption. Sponsored by a competitor that had quietly bought into her supply chain. She turned to her events director, voice low. How? The woman swallowed. Investor relations cleared him. No one flagged the history. He's positioned as a reformed venture advisor now. Remove him. Cameras are already live. Media's circling. Pulling him mid-event would look worse. Victoria exhaled sharply. Contain him. No access beyond his panel. Then her eyes found Marcus. He stood in a family section near the choir risers, navy blazer over a simple shirt, Sophie beside him in her robe, clutching sheet music. He'd come for her performance. Their gazes met across the crowded floor, his calm and questioning, hers raw for a heartbeat before she locked it down. Damian noticed her next. He excused himself from his group and walked straight over, smile widening like no time had passed. Vicky. The old nickname landed like a stone. Still commanding every room you enter. Impressive. What are you doing here? Her tone stayed flat, controlled. Panel guest. Catching up on the ecosystem. He glanced around the atrium. You've built something extraordinary. Proud of you. Leave. He raised both hands, mock surrender. No hard feelings after all these years. We were kids. Dramatic. I've changed. You've conquered. You sold my privacy for cash. Called me cold in print. Nearly sank my company. Don't pretend we're civil. His smile thinned. I apologized. Publicly. Privately. You never answered. I was busy surviving you. Before he could reply, Marcus appeared at her side, quiet, steady, close enough that she felt the calm radiating from him. Damian's eyes flicked over. Narrowed. A spark of recognition. Well. He looked Marcus up and down. You really do keep the same aesthetic, don't you? Same face. Different man. Marcus extended a hand. Marcus Hale. Damian ignored it. Look familiar, don't I? Not anymore, Marcus said, voice even. Victoria felt a fierce protectiveness rise in her chest. Damian smirked. Still chasing ghosts, Vic. That's new. She stepped between them. Walk away. Now. He lifted his brows. Touchy. Enjoy the summit. He turned, murmuring under his breath, you always did prefer control to connection. He melted back into the crowd. Victoria's hands shook. She pressed them to her sides. Marcus touched her elbow, light, steadying. You okay? No. He guided her to a quieter alcove behind a towering digital sculpture. The summit noise faded to a distant hum. Talk, he said simply. The words spilled before she could cage them. Damian proposed the week before my 28th birthday. I said yes because I thought maybe I could have it all, the company and someone who actually saw me. Then I found the messages. Photos I'd sent in private, forwarded to a tabloid with captions calling me too ambitious to love properly. He sold them for 6 figures. Headlines ran for weeks. Ice Queen exposed. Stock tanked. Investors questioned my stability. I fired half the board that doubted me. Built walls so high no one could reach me again. Swore I'd never let anyone close enough to do that twice. Marcus listened. No platitudes. Just presence. When she finished he spoke quietly. He didn't break you. He showed you cruelty. You chose not to mirror it. That's not weakness. That's power. Tears pricked. She blinked them back. Sophie ran up then, robe flapping, cheeks pink with excitement. Daddy! We're next. Marcus crouched to her level. You ready, superstar? Sophie nodded, then turned to Victoria. Are you coming to watch? Please. Victoria hesitated. Sophie's eyes were wide, hopeful. It's okay if you're busy. But, it would be nice. The simple request cracked her open. Yes, Victoria said. I'll watch. The choir took the stage. Sophie stood third from the left, hands clasped tight. When the music began, her voice lifted, clear, sweet, a touch shaky at first, then sure. The song was about hope, new light after darkness. Victoria stood beside Marcus, their shoulders brushing, his warmth anchoring her through the notes. When it ended, applause swelled. Sophie beamed, waved at them both, then darted off the stage into Marcus's arms. After a quick hug she turned and, without pause, wrapped her small arms around Victoria's waist. You're really tall, she said, grinning up. Victoria laughed, soft, startled, genuine. I am. Sophie let go and ran back to her friends. Marcus looked at Victoria. Thank you for staying. She could only nod. Later, in the underground parking garage, the rain had cleared. Marcus walked her to her car. She stopped beside the driver's door. I'm sorry. For pulling you into this. For assuming. For everything. He shook his head. Don't apologize for surviving. She met his eyes. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Let someone close. Trust they won't turn it against me. He stepped nearer. You already have. You just haven't admitted it yet. Her breath caught. He opened his arms, slow, offering, no pressure. She stepped into them. The hug was quiet at first, tentative, careful. Then she let herself lean in, forehead resting against his shoulder, arms wrapping around his back. His hold tightened just enough to feel safe, steady, real. No rush. No demand. Just presence. She breathed him in, clean soap, faint wood from his work, the warmth of someone who stayed when others would have run. When they parted she whispered, I was wrong about you. From the start. Marcus smiled, small, warm, real. I knew you'd see it eventually. She rested her forehead against his for one more second, then stepped back. Above them the summit lights still glowed. The world kept moving. But down here, in the quiet garage, something had shifted. Something that felt like the beginning of trust.